Point, it says I have an error, so I'm hoping I'm streaming. Can you guys see me? I'm hoping everything's good. But anyway, I'm going to assume we're streaming. I don't have a sidebar here. Yeah, it's showing I'm streaming. Okay. Anyway, we're here to talk about the Odyssey 2, this awesome, amazing console that has a vast library of games. We're going to have some fun talking about this. Anyway, we're going to talk about this console today. So we're just going to go ahead and get to it. I'm going to have Mike from mikesgaminggala come on, Brian from BD Retro Mods, and our guest analyst, but he's no stranger to the show, Casey, the Intellivision and the Retro Gamer. Just hold on a second. I want to do something. I didn't tell you guys I was going to do this because I didn't want to do this. But Casey's starting a new channel on YouTube. He's now the Retro Gamer. So he's going to start putting some content over on a new channel. And so while the show's going on, I will put a link to his YouTube channel on the chat. So anyway, let me get rid of that now. I don't need that anymore. How do I do this? Okay, stop screen. Okay, there we go. It's been a long day, man.
Just having an inner monologue.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, we're here to talk about the Odyssey 2. It doesn't have that vast a library of game. I bait and switch you guys all the time. So anyway, we're going to talk about it. And so we're going to start with the history. And so Brian has done some research on the history of the Odyssey 2. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about the history of the Odyssey 2, Brian?
Yeah, I can do that here. So, obviously, if you've never seen one, I mean, this is just one of the multiple versions of the Odyssey 2 that came out. This is actually one of the first consoles, which was released in September of 1978. For $179, which to today's standard is the equivalent of $884 for this thing, which is just crazy when you think about it.
They were marketing as a home computer learning thing.
Well,
right? They were just banking on how epic it is.
Right. Well, and it's interesting you say that.
At the time, but
it's interesting you say that because I don't know if there was really anything computing wise. I mean, there were some math games, things like that, but I don't believe you had what you saw in other microcomputers, such as the TI-99, the Atari 8-bits, things like that. I don't think you had all those extra peripherals on this.
You had there was a spelling game and a math game,
right?
And Cryptologic.
We played that a lot.
Yeah. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I think we would class this as being a microcomputer, but when you look at the history of it and everything, it continually gets classified as a video game console. So that's an interesting piece to it. But like I said, came out in 1978. You already had the Atari 2600 out already going, and one of the things with this was kind of the specs. So again, you had the Atari out there, which was picking up steam, and where this thing had some things good to it. One of the limitations on this, which I think if someone had an Atari and then came to this, was oh, what am I looking at? Is just the fact that it was an 8-bit processor in it. A lot of those specs similar to an Atari. However, this only had a 16 color palette. And really it was 8 basic colors of this, that the other 8 was just a half brightness of those same 8 colors. So the 8 colors that you got was black, blue, green, cyan, red, magenta, yellow, and white.
The one thing I will say though is the Odyssey 2 probably has the best stock RF of any of the classic systems. And I think it has something to do with just that really limited color palette, but it always looks bright and clear on a screen. One of the few systems that, I mean, everything benefits from an AV mod if you're prone to do that type of thing, but it's one of the few...
Drill, baby, drill.
It's one of those... it's one of those systems that it doesn't really benefit that much from it.
Yep. But yeah, so like that was kind of some of the specs with it. But like the launch system, came with 2 detachable controllers, and again, we'll talk about this more later. But again, you had these that were just like the normal DBI connection, and with that, it came with a game cart, which was a multi-cart of 3 games, which was Speedway, Spin Out, and Cryptologic on the cart. Now, one of the
super exciting games.
Yeah. But with that, later on in the cycle of the Odyssey 2 here, they would end up releasing other versions of it where you would normally not have this go this way. But again, the initial ones had controller ports, but then the later ones got rid of the controller ports, and the controllers were quote unquote hardwired into the system. So instead of using a DB9 connection, they were just a straight wire like this plugged into the console itself. So, and then you did have some variation of colors and stuff, which I think will showcase some of that stuff here in a bit. But
yep. And Michael Doherty makes a very good point. The early models had a RF connector.
Yes.
That is not something that people would be familiar with. It has it's the ground and the signal. So if you can connect them, I know Phil was playing around with a paperclip to get his connected to his television.
It worked, but I figured a permanent fix for that. There's a
It does work, but it is a unique thing. So there's a couple different things you could do. I mean, I don't like this, but you could splice the wire and put an RF connector. But if you open it up, you just unplug the RF cable and you plug a new one in, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing.
But yeah, so one of the things was at least here in the States, the console. One of the other things that kind of hurt the Odyssey was it had no third-party support until like the very, very end of its life. And even at that, for in the States, the North American market, it was only 2 games, which was Atlantis and Demon Attack. Every other game cart that came out for the Odyssey was all first-party stuff. And, we'll go kind of through some of the games, but, a lot of them were very similar to some popular Atari ones and so forth, and other arcade games at the time. But at the whole life cycle of the Odyssey 2, there would only be 47 commercially released games in the North American market. And like we kind of mentioned, those third-party ones didn't come till about the end of the console in 1983. Sales of the Odyssey 2 would mostly end in the United States in 1983, with worldwide sales ending in March of 1984, because overseas it had a couple different names. So in Japan, it was just Odyssey 2. In the European market, it was actually called the Video Pack. And it had a couple other different names as well. So
yep, right here you can see.
Yep.
Philips G7000 system. That's another. It's had several names.
Oh,
and, several, and also those names sometimes differentiate different versions of them.
Yep. But overall sales, these are all estimates. That estimated sales within the North American market was 1 million units from its lifespan, which again for the United States ended, like I said, roughly toward the end of 1983. With worldwide ending in March of 84. And those worldwide sales was about 2 million. So, again, not, especially when you compare it to the 2600 and other things that were out around the same period, it wasn't a huge system, but it was definitely a step up from the original Magnavox Odyssey, which, one of the things we're going to show was kind of neat that took some homage from the original Odyssey. Was some of the games were kind of a mix of doing stuff on your TV and also having stuff like almost like in a board game setting and using. And again, we'll kind of go more in that later here in the show. But
another thing to note, because you were talking about the game library, of that 47 games, I believe it's something like 23 or 24 of them were programmed by one guy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He's Mr. Odyssey 2, Ed Averett.
Pretty much
and
did them all.
including yeah, he did the majority of the U.S. library, and that includes really the only famous game on the system, which is Casey Munchkin, and then the sequel, Casey's Crazy Chase.
Yep. But yeah, that's kind of just the real brief history of it. Like I said, you know, I think we'll kind of talk about it more, just our thoughts on the console. But again, you know, it had its user base, obviously, but it just wasn't as well known and popular as some of the other things that came out during the lifespan of it. So,
yeah.
So
shall we move on to games?
Yeah, I mean, they're different ones. I mean, I'm fairly new to it. I know I've been wanting one for a while, and you know, I'm a Facebook Marketplace kind of guy, man. I'm always looking on Facebook Marketplace, and I saw this guy across town, and he had one for $100 with like 13 games or something. And so I like, and it was a box. It was boxed, and I was no, I'm sorry, it was $120. It was $120. I was going, you know me, I was going to talk him down, but then after I got to him, I was like,
"Would you take 30?"
He had the receipts from the stores from way back, the KB toy stores, and from back in the day, the same ones I used to shop at when I was a kid, you know. And I was, you know, I said, no, I'm just, man, and it was just nice having, I mean, 13 games plus the console that was in really good shape. So I just went ahead and bought it, and ever since then I've been playing. So it's been great to experience Odyssey too. So I would love to see what you guys have though, because I have.
Because you got the cart, I got to get you. I have an extra box with all the stuff. I got to send it to you.
When I see you at Korg next year.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So anyway, why don't you start off, Mike, and then maybe you and Casey can kind of switch off, because these guys have, like, if I think between the two, they probably have almost every game.
So I know Casey has a complete North American set. I am missing one game from a complete North American set, complete in box. And he's going to show that game right now. It is the most expensive game on the Odyssey 2. But one thing I will say is that the Odyssey 2, one of the reasons that people like it is it is very easily and approachable to collect for. With that 47 US game library, Power Lords there is the most expensive game. Complete in box, you're going to spend probably between $250 and $500 for that now. But if that is the biggest... Is Demon Attack an expensive one?
Yeah, it is.
Both iMagic games are expensive as well.
Yep.
I got this for $20.
Woo! You want to double your money?
But I've been collecting for a long time. And you know what? Back in the day, I was like, I'm not paying $120 for Power Lords, and now it's the only game I need. But yeah, let's talk about games, because it is a very approachable system. Most of the games, especially if you're not concerned about complete in box, you can get yourself a complete collection with the system, with all the North American games, probably for under $2,000.
Well, and to your point on that, before we start showing some games, like that's one thing I noticed when I was getting the Odyssey 2, because at the end of the day, I really didn't care if I got the games complete in box, but every game I ended up getting was complete in box. It was
a lot of them still have the boxes.
It was not an effort. Like, I don't know what made people obsessed with keeping the boxes for these, but not other, you know, consoles around that time. So, but like these and Intellivision ones, people seem to keep the boxes of these ones, you know, and they're not and even complete in box is not expensive for many of these.
One of the things I really like about the North American games is that they have the gatefold, right? And you tuck your manual in here. The cartridges are pretty unique for the time. They've got handles. Yeah, it's just, now these are quite often falling apart. Most of these that I've purchased have tape everywhere to hold it together. Yep. And then I have to like very gingerly take all the tape off. Yeah, the North American games were all came out in these cardboard boxes. The European games came in these plastic cartridges, or cartridge cases, kind of like an old cassette or an 8-track case. but also just as brittle. I'm not a big fan of these. They will quite often have chips. Like here's my copy of Looney Balloon. You can see it's got a crack in the back, and especially if you tap this on a corner, it's like an iPhone. It's going to shatter. But that's how you can tell if it's an EU game. And they look terrible sitting on a shelf because all the sides are just black. There are some that were in completely clear cases that had this. And the one thing that I really like about the North American set is at least the stock Odyssey 2 games, they all have this awesome art style. The Odyssey 2, like if somebody made an art book of just all the cover art, it'd be worth getting because they're all consistent. They all look freaking awesome.
I highly prefer these over the EU games.
I prefer the art very much. What I had another pile here. Oh, right here. Terrible game. The box art's awesome. One of my favorite.
Well, just like this one. I mean, who doesn't want a cybernetic cowboy?
I was just about to say.
For it to only be a clone of Outlaw, you know. So.
Killer Bees. Now, Killer Bees is a great game.
Oh, it is.
For the Odyssey 2, it's a great game. We'll get a little more into that later. Some of them, they became like voice branded. Like this is a voice game, but this is earlier. And then you get like, now we're talking about the voice and we got to put it in a blue box. But then the EU, like Casey said, they're kind of all over the place. Some of them have the same art. Others, not. This is this. I know which one I'd buy if I saw it on the shelf.
Right.
You're buying this one, right?
Though the European one was probably more accurate to what the game was, though.
Yeah.
Probably. It's just a guy shooting things.
But that's what us American kids did. We saw the box art. If it looked cool, we bought it.
Oh,
that's
right.
what
Exactly.
we did.
That's what grabbed you.
I mean, the one thing I will say, that's pretty awesome. I do like all that at the bottom there. It makes the game look far more exciting. Like when you look at the screen grabs on the top.
Yeah.
That's not what you're playing. But Tim Robertson says he thinks you could get the entire run and system for under $300 right now.
You'd have to be really lucky.
I think you'd have to be really lucky. It's not impossible. I'll give you that. It's not impossible. The Power Lords, though, I've never, like nowadays, I don't see just even Power Lords for less than $300.
Well, and the consoles themselves,
the
the consoles themselves have gotten more expensive, and I'm not sure why, but normally, you know, I know a couple years ago I was getting Odyssey 2 consoles for like $25. You know, now those weren't complete in box or anything, but like $25. And now, you know, you try to get one, like if you look on eBay just for Odyssey 2 consoles, a lot of them are $60, $70, $80, and then they claim they're as is, you know, not tested or whatever. So the consoles themselves definitely seem to be going up in price, which yeah,
I used to buy them for $10 a pop. They used to be like nobody used to want them. So it's a bit of a shame. Kind of wrapping up, you know, my stuff, and then I would love for Casey to take Power Lords out of the box and just like sensually show it in front. But first, before you do that, because it's going to distract everybody from the big box games, there were 3 big box games, all 3 of them programmed by Ed Everett. But there were Quest for the Rings, Wall Street Fortune Hunt, and Conquest of the World. Now, I'll do it with Quest of the Rings. Each of them had inside, let's see if I can do this without losing all the pieces. a cartridge, and they have like sexy gold cartridges. This is kind of a D&D style game. And they had a whole pile of playing pieces. So if you look at the origins of the Magnavox Odyssey, the original Magnavox Odyssey came with, it was really an most of the games, it was an accessory to go with, a spinner or football cards or country cards or whatever. So you actually have gameplay pieces, and right in the bottom here, I'll try to do this so you can see it. You've got this big, nice manual, an overlay for that keyboard so that your different buttons mean different things. And let me move this to the side here.
You say there's only 3 of the big boxed?
Only 3 big box games in North America. I'm going to show some other neat stuff.
Okay.
And I guess that's just a screen. I thought it was another board. But I haven't played Quest for the Rings in a while. You need multiple players to do it properly. But basically, you're going to all these different areas, and then you have to fight dragons and monsters and stuff. And you're trying to find all the rings, kind of like a Lord of the Rings deal. And in some areas, like you've got these coins, and on one side it'll say it'll be a monster icon or it'll be a ring, and that's what you're shooting for. So these are cool. I actually like Quest of the Rings. The other 2 are kind of Conquest of the World is all right. The Wall Street Fortune Hunt. To add to a collection, sure, but to play, not really. But this one's fun. If you got a couple friends, I played with my brother once, and I was the knight, and I was just holding back this dragon while he ran behind me. And he was like a wizard or something. He got the ring and we escaped, but it was like legitimate, because you have to keep hitting him so that he doesn't breathe fire on you. So I'm just like, get it quick, get it. And we're big imagination, right? You're picturing yourself in a cave fighting off a dragon while your brother goes and gets the ring. And then, it's just that type of thing. I like it. It adds that extra level, and it makes use of the keyboard, which not many games do.
Right.
Once I put this away, I'm going to let Casey and Brian and you talk about games for a little bit, but then I have one of the special EU games to show. So we won't move off games yet, but you guys could talk about games.
You can go ahead, Casey.
While I put this away.
Are we up?
Yep.
You're up.
All right, so here is the holy grail for the games for the United States set, Power Lord.
I didn't get that in that box you just sent me, Casey. Must have been missing.
Here is the cart. I've never played this either. Here's the inside. The manual. We can fire it up if you guys want, or just show it.
I think you just show it. The game does stink.
There is the back of the box.
It's in very good shape.
Nothing like spending $250 to $500 on a game that's horrible.
You know what? For most systems,
uh,
the most expensive games are the bad ones because
Right.
everyone can sell. If
Right.
the game was good, there's lots of them out there.
Yeah.
Everyone would have it. What else did we want to show? You want me to start showing the stuff that I have, or?
Yeah, go for it.
And then I can do the last.
This is
EU?
a Casey Munchkin
That's a cool one.
advanced copy, prototype, whatever you want to call it. And I just recently grabbed that. The label's kind of bad, but. And then I started popping up everywhere. This is a magazine that, other consoles have similar items, but this one features Killer Bees. I think I have 4 or 5 of these. Odyssey Adventure. This is one of the alternate controllers, the silver ones, and this is one of the ones that have the plug on the end.
Yeah, so the systems had two. The base system had two different types of controllers. One was the black controller. That's the more common one, but also there's the silver controllers.
Here is just a dust cover. I've only got one of those. Are we just showing original, or are we showing other items as
Original
well?
for now, because I'll finish up our original segment with this this video pack game here. So do you want me to do that, and we can move on to homebrew?
Yeah, I think that was all the stuff you guys said to set aside. I've got a lot of other stuff here, but it's not original.
Well, okay, but you have, in terms of EU, you have the Parker Brothers stuff.
Oh, yes.
Why don't you show the Parker Brothers?
The Parker Brothers, I have Super Cobra. I believe that's the only Parker Brothers game I have. And I got this just, you know.
I have that one loose. I don't have that one complete.
But like I said, I only went for the US set, but I have a few items, you know, nothing, just a few. And I have a few more back there, but I didn't bring them all over. Do you want me to open up the Parker Brothers?
You don't have to, but you can. It's always nice to see stuff.
I've never.
But yeah, for me, having it loose is like not having it at all.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So here's the cart.
Yeah.
I've never opened one of these manuals. That's just the manual on the front.
So
nothing on the
this
back,
is actually
nothing on the side. Boring.
Does 8-bit widgets make adapters for the pluggable controllers? Yes, they do.
I believe so.
We're going to be talking about, so I did a review of Robot Ron, which is one of the homebrews that we're going to talk about, and one of the options is you can get it with the coupler, and this is that coupler right here. So you could go back and watch, pardon me, my Robot Ron review, and you could see my thoughts on this coupler, and I think he's made some adjustments to it since then.
But also with that, which I know we were going to talk about more, but I also,
sorry, Michael, I'm not sending it.
but also, I think some others probably do it too. But I do make different cable adapters for the Odyssey. So if you do want to play, like use an Atari controller on it, you could, and also for the hardwire to turn it into being non-hardwired to plug in different controllers and stuff. So I do make adapters for that on top of some other things. But then there was also a thing about the controller being better than the intellivision. I don't know. I mean, it's all personal preference. But like I'm just gonna show as an example here. So like if you've never used one of these before, now I'm not saying this is horrible, but I'm not going to say it's like the best either. That, I mean, it's very springy when you go around. And the other problem is, if you notice, they grooved it almost as like an octagonal style type thing. Not exactly, but you can see the grooves. And the problem with that is when you're playing games that you need more of a round gate on it. And because again, when you're trying to take it around like a circle, this is what we get.
Yeah, that's my biggest complaint. I mean, the joystick doesn't bother me so much. It is a very loose joystick, but the grooves on the outside of that circle get annoying.
But that's probably my complaint, because I don't know, at least I never felt there was a lot of games that benefited by those grooves for the console. I mean, I could be wrong, but at least the ones I played, I never saw a benefit to having those grooves. So
no, and in fact, there's been a couple times where I've like meant to make a move and been stuck in a groove and it doesn't go right away, and it's very, very annoying. But EU had a lot of really cool stuff. Like most systems that didn't do particularly well in North America, lots of stuff came out in Europe and Brazil. One of them is a chess module, which I passed once on for like $50, and now it's worth way more than that. But you've got some Philips video pack music, and I'll show you. So you've got an overlay for your keyboard that is a keyboard, and you can actually play Here's the manual. Synthesized music on your Odyssey 2. And it's got the cartridge there. Let me flip open this manual here. It's full on just got... It's really kind of neat. I know, Phil, you're a musical guy. You're not a piano guy, but you're a musical
wasn't
guy.
until like the Atari 8-bit that you really weren't seeing that kind of thing.
Yeah. So
that's kind of interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing.
You could put that over your keyboard and play music on your Odyssey 2 or your Philips video pack system.
Well, let me get you out of the screen here. I always have my head up my rear end. Sorry. Just saw that look on Brian's face. All right. What else we got?
Homebrew.
Let's see some homebrews.
A lot of us are homebrew-based channels. I only have 3 homebrews for the Odyssey 2, and I worked on 2 of them. So all 3 of these, I've got reviews on my channel if you want to see them. Robot Ron. If you slur that together, it's Robotron. With an optional case, this is a cheaper homebrew. And it's got a 3D printed cartridge. For the amount they were charging for this, I think with the case, it was like $25. What? I think it's worth it, and I think it's not a bad game. It's not as deep as Robotron. It's not as frantic as Robotron. Stuff comes at you one at a time, but it is a twin stick shooter. That's why you have the ability to pick it up with the cable, the controller coupler. You can move your guy and you could shoot in different directions. It's as far as the Odyssey 2 goes, which we also have to remember, the Odyssey 2 is a very limited system. It is not going to even do what the Atari 2600. Right. For the Odyssey 2, I like this. This is actually probably my favorite of the 3 homebrews that I have.
Can you still buy that game?
Gameplay-wise. Yes, absolutely. If you go to my review, I've got the link in the description. They're still available.
I don't have that one.
Bet you do by the end of the week.
Probably. Casey's Escape. So this was a Good Deal Games release, and I'm not sure if these are still available. But
they
I know
are not.
No.
Okay.
At least they weren't. They weren't.
The autographed editions definitely aren't available. But this is autographed by Ed Averitt. That's the gentleman that I told you that invented Casey Munchkin, and he actually calls himself Casey's dad. So this is a sequel to Casey Munchkin and Casey's Crazy Chase. It's kind of like a vertical Jawbreaker, if you know Jawbreaker, where
I saw your review on that. It was really interesting.
It's got the manual, but one of the things that Michael Thomason did is he put Tic Tacs in there, which I've never opened, obviously.
I remember that part.
They're the pellets.
Don't eat them, Mike.
He's got a little muncher guy, and he had a patch made.
Oh, that is nice.
It is really nice.
I like those for collector sets.
For this one, I made the manuals and I made the labels for the cartridges. So that was my contribution, and it got me a free copy of the game when it came out. So I'm happy to contribute for a free copy of the game.
You think? Nice.
Especially if it's signed by Ed Averitt, and he complimented my work, which I liked. And then this, I think personally, even though this is probably the worst of the gameplay-wise, the worst of the homebrews that I've got, this is, I think, the holy grail of Odyssey 2 homebrews, and that is the autographed edition of Ralph Baer's Pinball. Michael Thomason had been working on this with Ralph Baer for quite a while. Ralph Baer was asked, I don't think he actually programmed it. He designed it, but then somebody else programmed it. He was asked to make a demo of a pinball game for the Odyssey 2. It never came to light. So this actually has that demo on it, as well as a finished version that they just polished it up a little bit. And they called it Ralph Bear's Pinball. And he had been working on these for a while. And Ralph Bear signed these about a month before he passed away.
Wow.
So if you have one of these, they are very, very special. They could very well be the last things that Ralph signed. And inside, of course, Michael did some really cool stuff. It was thought that there was never any picture of Ralph Bear with the Odyssey 2, but they found one, and so they did like a fake Polaroid of it. You've got a sticker, you've got a fridge magnet, you've got a manual, and that patch has some awesome artwork on it.
A lot of cool colors.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I really complimented him on when he published this, was that artwork looks like it belongs on the Odyssey 2. I really like that. And he also threw a ball bearing as a pinball into every game. So that's a really cool one as well. But those are the only three that I have. But I would consider this one to be the holy grail of the pinball, really just for that autograph right there.
Do those pop up?
You got
ever?
the guy that invented video games. What's that, sorry?
Do those
Home
pop
video
up
games.
ever?
I don't know if they pop up. Obviously, he doesn't have any more of them. But if you find one on eBay, I'm positive it won't be cheap shirt. But I know the retro gamer in the bottom corner has a lot of homebrews, and I'm sure he would love to show us some.
All right. I am missing all the ones you guys are talking about, though. This was the other version. This was Casey Munchkin Redux, whatever. And this was just a different version. I do have that version you have as well, Mike.
What's the difference in Redux?
This one is more like, see the screenshot?
Oh, okay. They make it a little more like Pac-Man.
Yeah, it's more like the regular game, not like that vertical one that is the one you showed. And I'll show it real quick. This is my version. The same stuff, the autographed one with all the stuff inside. Aaron the Ant. And I'll try to show if you guys can see the screenshot a little bit.
Is that like an anteater kind of clone, or?
You know I haven't played these. This one I know is going to be decent, though. This is Go Sub.
I love Go Sub.
Go Sub is a really fun game. When you first start playing it, you might be like, what? But I really like Go Sub, and I've been wanting to try this one. I just keep forgetting it's there. This one's Turkey Trot. And again, like Mike said, a lot of these come in that cheaper, case where they're just kind of in there. That's just kind of normal for the Odyssey homebrews. Most of them.
I know that Michael Thomason used to publish them, and he used to hate that he had to do this, but he would always use the EU cases because he was able to reuse cartridges. Like, they're more common in the EU, and he would get those cases. Phil,
I'm sorry.
For a reason,
I
I'm
looked
talking.
away. I didn't see you pan away. I thought I had done it.
And that completely threw me off. But he started moving to the Universal game cases because even those were starting to get especially good condition ones. So I would love if somebody because it's just cardboard and it folds into itself. I would love if somebody figured out how to make something like this and then produced Odyssey 2 games like this. That'd be awesome.
I wonder if Steve Jones could figure out a way to make a box and then have
I'm sure he could.
Made. So this is Go Sub 2. Again, I haven't tried this one. I'm wondering if this is like Super Pro Go Sub.
It would be interesting to see if they could even do Super Pro Go Sub on the Odyssey 2.
Here is Restaurant. Looks like elevator action.
It looks like Keystone
I was saying, it looks
Keystone
Yeah,
like
Keepers
that's
to
what
me.
I meant to say.
I'm really looking forward on your new channel to seeing you actually play these.
Now, let me ask a question, Casey, because we're going to talk about emulation in a bit. But I know you're buying these from I'm assuming a website. So, are you buying these from a PGRE or PRGE?
These I bought from a guy I knew. Used to have what was it, Atari 2600 connection, and for the life of me, I cannot remember his name. Mike, do you know it?
Tim something, I think.
It's
That's
one
who
of
I
the
got.
guys that Caleb knows. Tim Duarte.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm pretty sure that's who I got Robot Drawn off of.
I'm not sure if he's still selling these. I've got them over the years. I used to buy stuff from him when he had the website up, and they don't do that anymore. But there are a lot of games that you can get. This one is JG Munchkin.
I would ask you what the difference is on that, but you don't know.
Yes, I do not know. But the whole point of the Retro
Tim is
Gamer
still around.
channel, the whole point of the Retro Gamer channel is because I have a lot of stuff, a lot of mini consoles, all the Evercade stuff, homebrews for Atari. I have a pretty big Atari collection, and I want to start showing it all. So that is the plan. Here's Death Race.
Yeah, that's a classic. The one thing I will say, if you want your channel to take off, don't start with Odyssey 2, as much as I want to see it.
Here is Fatso. I have no clue what that one is. Nice Ice.
Nice. That almost looks like, you know, that game when we were kids where it was like this I will say Inuit, but back then we would have said Eskimo, like sitting on a chair in the middle of the thing, and you had the little hammer and you had to knock out the ice blocks and not have him drop.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that game?
I don't think I know that one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because when you showed the back of it, it kind of looked like it was that game.
Huh. I'll have to try it. Here is Walls.
And there's balls in those walls.
Here is Happy Bird. Can you guys guess what that is?
He may be a little flappy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Flappy Bird, pretty much.
That's the name of it. Don't break the ice.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Break the Ice.
Don't
Here is
break
Me
the ice.
Santa, another holiday game. Let's try if I can. What is Chef? I dropped this one.
I like every game you show. I want to ask what it's like.
Mike, it's coming soon.
Oh, good.
Exojet. Moto Crash.
All right.
The
That almost looks a little like Enduro.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The 50-foot tall stalk of celery.
Okay, then.
Only a few more. Jack and the Beanstalk.
Is that the sister game to the 50-foot tall celery?
No idea.
Brian's comment. Casey, how's the gameplay?
Wildlife. So I haven't bought any of these in maybe a year or two now, but I was buying them, and they're on the backside over here, and they just out of sight, out of mind. Amok.
Muck.
There's not even a screenshot on the back of this one.
It's a mystery game.
The mystery game. And that is all of the homebrew games that I brought over here.
And it's funny that you say out of sight, out of mind, because my Odyssey 2 tends to be as well. And it's not something that you would think, like when I know, like Phil, when he's like, "Oh, I really want to play some retro games," you pick up your Atari 2600. For Brian, it may be your Intellivision or your 2600 or whatever. For me, it's usually Intellivision or 2600. Sometimes 7800. I know, Casey, Intellivision is your number one. But for me, like, I like it. It's just never in my thoughts to like, oh, I want to play that. But you showing all those homebrews, I'm like, oh, I'd love to try to, give those homebrews a try. Because Odyssey 2 games, they are very simple. And some of them are a lot of fun. I love Casey's Crazy Chase. I love Quest for the Rings. Freedom Fighters is good. Like, there are definite... Pickaxe Pete is a pretty good game. Monkey Shines is terrible. But more often than not, there's some good stuff to play. And Mr. Postal, I'm not putting that up.
Most of them are fairly cheap to buy. The homebrews guys are really inexpensive in the Odyssey 2 market.
Like I said, those two from Good Deal Games, the autographed editions, they weren't particularly cheap. But Robotron was like with the couple.
Oh,
Oh,
Darn it, now
his
we have
voice
to
went
talk.
faded from black to nothing. Well, I don't know when he's going to be back.
I
I've
mean,
got some other stuff to show. I don't know how much we want to show.
well, I was just gonna, so I can do my part now while we see when Mike gets back here. So,
All right.
So again, with the Odyssey, there is a number of things that I make for it. So I don't have them on hand because I already have them packed up for Torg this weekend, but I do make numerous cable adapters. So if you want to make your hardwired Odyssey a non-hardwired, I have adapter cables that you can take out of that and then plug in Atari controllers, or if you want to be able to plug in Odyssey controllers, I can configure it that way as well. I do have adapters for the ones that have controller ports to be able to play, use Atari controllers on. But then I also make specific controllers for the Odyssey 2. I do have my handheld style that you can play, and in each button, so that way is the same, so you can do it left or right-handed. I do also NES style controllers for the Odyssey 2.
Get mine out of the gutter, Mike.
And then these are actually debuting at Torg. I'm actually going to officially announce them all tomorrow, but just based on demand, I have premium slim editions now coming. So,
Nice.
so I have this for the Odyssey 2 and a bunch of other different consoles here that I'll be showing off tomorrow. That'll be on sale at Torg. But again, just numerous things because again, you may like the Odyssey controllers, but if you don't, there's some options to play different ones with it. So
I'm going to just apologize. When I was grabbing this, I unplugged my camera, but like I yanked the cable because I've got all this stuff around. So no, it wasn't for not putting up your comment. I'll just finish what I was in the middle of saying. But Robotron with the coupler, with the box edition, like you could get it as cheap as like $20, but I paid like $30 for all of it. Odyssey 2 homebrews tend to be very cheap. One thing that we haven't shown yet is the voice. Do we want to show the voice?
Yes.
I
A
think
lot of
it's a
people
cool
don't know what
unit.
that is.
It's not easy to find that, especially in the box.
The voice clips. This one I'll open. That side is taped. The voice, and if I'm not mistaken, this might have been the first voice module for any of the consoles. It might have been a television, but I think this one beat it. But this plugs into your cartridge slot and goes over the top of your Odyssey 2, and then your cartridges go in here, and it gives you voice synthesis, and you've got a little volume slider here, and it looks very futuristic and shiny, and it matches your Odyssey 2. So
it's quite a big unit whenever you put that on top of it and the whole thing's sitting there.
Yeah, because Odyssey 2 is not small in itself.
No.
No, this definitely adds some oomph to it, but it doesn't make it like an unwieldy. It's not like the Tower of Power on Sega or the Lane of Pain with Intellivision. It fits very snugly, and it feels like a complete unit. And yeah, that's the box it came in. It's a very nice box.
So, Brian, what else do you have anything else to show?
No, like I said, I have those different adapters, and like I said, those controllers. As I said, I didn't have the adapters with me because they're already in a tub for Torg. I didn't want to try to dig through and find them. So
you guys can get those this weekend at the Torg gaming convention in Columbus, Ohio.
That's right.
That's right. Brian will be there with his awesome controllers if there are any left.
Is it going to be a BD Retro Mods experience, or are you just a vendor there?
No, so I'm actually just vendoring at this one.
Okay.
So, yep. Yeah, because I already had it set up that way for a long time ago. So, yeah, this one will not be an experience. This one will just be selling the controllers.
Oh, it'll still be an experience.
Well, yes, that's true. It will. But one of the differences is just I will not have like demo units going, because usually at my booth I'll have a couple demos. It's just to pay for electric at the Greater Columbus Convention Center is absolutely atrocious. It's about $160 for the show, just half hour for one outlet. So that's a big no.
You will experience the tactile pleasures, but not the actual playing.
Correct.
Maybe Retro Bliss can sit with you like he did at the last convention.
But hey, you're welcome. But I mean, they will have a free play area, so I'm sure if you buy any of my stuff, you're welcome to take it over there and use it. But
you're welcome to take it to the free play area and improve those systems.
Wait a minute. Then they'll go over, what if I don't like it?
So, Brian, those adapters you sell, did you tell people why those adapters would be cool? What else? What could they buy for their Odyssey and use those adapters?
Oh, yeah. So, if you go with the adapter route, you could use pretty much any Atari controller that you would want. Yes. And that as well. You
can also use the Sega gamepad.
Yeah.
Game pinout.
Yep.
Now, this is not one from you, but this is another option that I've had for a long time. And the adapters open up the possibilities of controllers on the Odyssey.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
So if you have a hardwired unit, you buy there's adapters or different things you can make, and it doesn't take long to change them out. And then you can use all different types of controllers, arcade sticks, controllers for other consoles. It just opens it up, because eventually these do fail.
Well, and they fail because it's literally just like cellophane in there. It's not even a true. Yeah. It's not even a true board. It's literally kind of like the Intellivision controller. It's literally pressing down. It's
Mylar.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Mylar. Yeah, it's just literally Mylar touching, and it definitely wears out over time. And again, I think when you go with an aftermarket type controller, whatever you prefer, I do think it brings a much better experience to the Odyssey too.
Casey, Brian's ragging on you for not playing your games.
Trust me, I play a lot of them, but there's only so much time in the day, and there's literally tens of thousands of games in here.
Oh my goodness. All right.
But I know we're getting toward the end. I was going to say, you got the emulation to talk about, Phil.
I do. Yeah, I have some
emulation to talk about. Why don't you bring it home with the emulation?
All right, let's bring it home. Okay, I'm going to put a link in the description right now. This is a website. It's odyssey2.info website, and this website is kind of just kind of an all-inclusive Odyssey 2 homepage where you can get articles, information on games, collecting, the library where you can download things, but also. There's a place on there for emulation there, and I have just recently got into emulating on a Windows PC, and there's a particular emulator that is used for Windows. It's called the O2EM emulator, and in itself, it's fine. The only problem is that if you're playing, your window's going to be about this big on the screen. It's going to be very little. And why they didn't fix that within the software itself, I don't know. But they have made a number of support files, which are basically front ends for this emulator that you can install in conjunction with this emulator that will fix that problem. And so I've been playing with this, and the only thing that I have not been able to figure out yet, and I will, because there's a way to do it, is to enable the voice through emulation. And so if you've been watching the channel in the last week, you've noticed that I have played a few Odyssey 2 games on the channel. And so check out that website. If you have any questions, hit me up at retroblissgaming@gmail.com. I'll try to answer them the best I can. As far as installation, it's fairly easy. And like I said, there's some information on there where you might be able to get some games that you already legally own. And there are also some places there where you can get homebrews, but they're not for so much emulation purposes. But this website isn't just for emulation; it's for it's for everything.
That's my favorite Odyssey 2 website.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. So it's a very interesting. I mean, if you sit down with this website and kind of just go through, it's got video clips and, like I say, downloads and cartridge scans and box scans and all kinds of stuff. You know, you can sit down and spend, literally hours just going through this website, just going through all the information in this website. And if you're interested in the Odyssey 2, and emulation is going to be a thing of the future, guys, because these consoles aren't going to last forever. Not everybody can get these in good working condition anyway. So if you're so inclined, think about emulation. This is a way to do it. The O2EM emulator. And like I said, I gave the link in the chat there, but hit me up.
And I posted it in mine as well.
Yep. So
anyway, hey, you never know. Atari likes to buy up this generation of companies, so maybe they'll.
If you recall, in our, I believe, very first episode, I talked about that, about Atari, kind of being the guardian of the second gen, and then since then they've bought the Intellivision. You could get the majority of the U.S. library by calling one guy who is now quite old and is actually probably looking to part with those licenses. So they could get the Odyssey 2. If they,
Odyssey 2 have all of them.
Well, the biggest problem with ColecoVision is that all the good games on ColecoVision never owned.
Yeah,
unfortunately. But I don't know how I feel about Atari all the time, but they certainly look to be going in that direction, and Odyssey 2 would probably be a cheap, quick win for them, and you could just release. I mean, are you going to make an Odyssey 2 Plus? No, there's not a big enough market.
Not going to make an Intellivision Plus either.
Could you release all the games, including KC Munchkin, because now you're not going to sue yourself? Could you release all the games on a collection for the Switch and the PlayStation and the Xbox and the BCS? Sure.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Never know.
Right.
I love those collections where you have all the information, history, pictures, games.
Yeah, so Michael Dougherty makes it so Ed Averitt owns the rights to all of his games. I don't know who owns the Odyssey trademark. That may indeed be a group in Brazil. But it's kind of scattered over time.
So, all right. Well, guys, before we get out, I forgot to mention this in the green room, guys, but we have our podcast for next week already lined up. Brian Mathers,
who has been in our chat. He
is an author, and we're going to be talking about Atari 2600 homebrews. And
I have known Brian online. I've never met him. We talked a few times, but probably for almost 10 years. So it'll be nice to actually talk to him.
Yeah. I just picked up quite a few books from Amazon. Doggone it! I should have put that link in the description. But check out the channel tomorrow. There'll be a link hopefully in the description of the video of tomorrow's live stream, where you can check out his books online. And we're going to be talking about those books and what are in those books. He's written a number of books on Atari homebrew, but he has been working on a list of Atari 26 homebrew games for that have gone back for quite a while. It's not exhaustive yet. It's still a work in progress, but
it's definitely a great resource for an archive of Atari 2600 homebrew.
Yep. So you want to tune in, because we're going to provide a link to that website in the podcast next week. So, and I don't know if you saw in the private chat there, Mike.
Yeah, I also have a go live, so it's going to be adventure to see if we can go off.
Okay, I'm gonna. You guys, I don't know why, but our StreamYard is really normally there's an end stream button. And neither Mike nor I have an end stream button.
I'll tell you what. You play the clip. I will try to end the stream.
So hold on though. Before we end, not Odyssey 2 related, but I got this in my email today, and I think it's important to announce. Can I share my screen a second?
Sure.
Is it the opcode news?
Yep.
Yeah, he sent me a note yesterday, and I was like, I don't know if this warrants a video, but.
I don't know if it's for a video, but I think it's definitely worth
especially considering that we've talked with Lewis Hill.
Yeah. So for those that don't follow, what can you not see it, or
you
can you see it? You good?
There you go.
Okay. So
yes.
So they just announced this. Like literally, the email came out just an hour or so before our live stream started. But opcode now has Keystone Coppers, which is obviously a homebrew version of Keystone Capers, from our friend Lewis Hill from Muddy Vision, which it's a great version of the game. And it's awesome. Just like with Popeye and Mooncrest, it's awesome to see that there's another publisher out there willing to take on these games. And
Opcode seems to be picking up a lot of these 7800 games, and I hope they get a few more of them.
Guys, if I like that game a lot. I have that game, and I have streamed that game a number of times on the channel. Keystone Coppers, it's awesome. If you have a 7800, now that it's available, highly recommended. Highly recommended.
I've got it. I haven't done a review on it yet. I should do that.
It is. Oh, dude, it's a good show. It's a good game. Good game. Highly recommended. So, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start the end screen, and Mike's going to try to sign us off. So anyway, appreciate you guys being on here.
Oh yeah, wait.
Hold on a minute.
I've got a couple more cool things to show really quick.
Oh, okay.
So, this is a cart version of the voice. And I found this on eBay. I've had it for a few years. You can see I use it all the time. So this will go in the console. And then you have this guy, which I also use all the time. I play SD cart. So this is, you can put all your games on one cart.
Casey, clearly you don't play SD cards. That's also still in the shrink.
Oh, is that what that clear stuff is? I was wondering why I was getting a fuzzy picture.
Oh.
But these are really cool. I plan to use them. Whenever I first started the game room before YouTube, that's what I was doing, setting up console play areas, buying up a lot of these kind of guys. But these things are really cool. I didn't have a voice unit at the time, but this gives you everything. And I can't remember if I showed this. This was another cool, very hard to find item. Odyssey 2 hand control replacement in the box. And I'm done.
Cool.
Oh, it's okay. I thought we were done. I apologize. Sorry, Casey. That's my fault. All right. So are we good?
I think so. Let's try to shut it down.
I think we're good. All right, let's try this.
Live.
All right, guys. Anyway, we will see you next week. You guys want to tune in for Brian Mather next week. He's an awesome dude. And we are looking forward to seeing him next week on Retro Bliss Rewind. Thanks, Casey, for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next week. All right. Take care, guys. Bye.
Night, everyone.